I never thought a simple dinner could change everything. One moment, I was laughing at a joke my friend made, clinking my glass to toast the end of a long week, and the next, she did something I'll never forget. She removed her ring. Slowly, deliberately, like she wanted me to notice. And then, without a word, she slid it onto my hand. My hand. I froze. Time felt strange, stretched out like it was testing me. Her eyes didn't look nervous. They were calm, almost daring. But inside, my chest was hammering, my mind racing. What did this mean? Was it a mistake? Or had she planned this? I had known her for years, but that simple gesture made me feel like I didn't really know her at all. Her name is Clara. She's in her mid-40s, successful, elegant, the kind of woman who walks into a room and somehow everything feels a little brighter and a little dangerous. And I'm 25, not exactly experienced in this kind of emotional storm. I've seen people date, fall in love, break up, even betray each other. But nothing could have prepared me for Clara. There was always this magnetic pull between us, a quiet tension I tried to ignore, telling myself I was imagining it. And maybe I was. Or maybe I wasn't. That night, sitting across from her in the dimly lit restaurant, everything changed. The way her hand lingered on the table, the way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes, it all whispered of secrets. And then, the ring. I couldn't stop staring at it. It was heavy on my finger, weighty in a way that made me feel like I had just stepped into someone else's story, a story I didn't know the rules to. I wanted to ask her why, wanted to pull back, wanted to laugh it off, but my mouth wouldn't form words. And she didn't speak. She just sat there, watching me, like she was waiting to see if I would react the way she hoped. And that's when it hit me. Whatever this was, it wasn't about the ring. It was about us. About something bigger than either of us, something I couldn't yet name. I glanced around the restaurant, half expecting someone to notice, to laugh at the absurdity, but no one seemed to care. Time was shrinking around us, or maybe stretching, and the world outside that table didn't exist anymore. I felt a thrill and a fear I hadn't felt in years. And then, just when I thought I might finally breathe, she leaned in slightly, her voice soft but firm, and said something that made my heart skip a beat. Something that I would carry with me forever. But what she said, I couldn't have prepared for. I should probably start at the beginning. Clara and I didn't meet in some dramatic, life-changing way. We met at a cafe downtown, where I used to spend my weekends writing articles and pretending I had my life together. She was there almost every Saturday, sipping espresso and reading something dense and important looking. I noticed her because she seemed different, not just smart or confident, but the kind of person who notices everything and nothing all at once. We started talking casually at first. Small talk, book recommendations, weather, the usual. But slowly, the conversation stretched into hours. She laughed at my terrible jokes. I found myself leaning in, hanging on her every word. Over time, I realized I looked forward to Saturdays more than anything else. And she looked forward to them too. At least, that's what I thought. Clara has been married before. I knew that from the start. She never hid it, never made it a secret. I think that's part of why I was drawn to her. There was a depth to her that other people didn't have, a softness behind her strength, but also something that hurt her, something she carried quietly, and I wanted to understand it. Maybe more than I should have. I, on the other hand, was 25, just trying to find my footing in the world. Life had been simple until Clara. My past relationships? Forgettable. My ambitions? Small. My confidence? Fragile. But she challenged all of that. Without even trying, she made me feel alive, like I was capable of more than I ever believed. Dinner that night wasn't supposed to be anything unusual. Just a quiet place, candles, laughter. A routine meetup that had slowly become a ritual for us. But there had been subtle tension building for weeks, things neither of us mentioned. Little glances that lingered too long, brushes of hands that left sparks, comments that carried double meanings. We'd both felt it, I'm sure, both pretending it didn't exist. And then, at that table, the air between us shifted. Her removing the ring wasn't just a gesture. It was a signal, a statement. But what kind of statement? That was the question burning in my mind as I sat there, pretending to sip my wine while my heart thudded like a drum. I tried to piece it together. Did she regret her marriage? Was she lonely? Was this her way of testing me, or herself? Every scenario made my chest tighten. Every possibility felt too real, too dangerous. And yet, despite the unease, I felt a pull I couldn't resist, like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing the fall could be terrifying and thrilling. I couldn't look away. I couldn't step back. Because deep down, I knew this moment was only the beginning. Something bigger was coming. Something that would change both our lives in ways neither of us could predict. And as Clara's eyes met mine across the candlelight, I realized I had no idea what I was stepping into. After that dinner, everything felt heavier. The air between us carried a weight I couldn't name. Clara didn't text me immediately afterward. She didn't call. And yet, I couldn't stop thinking about that moment. Her hand on mine, the ring sliding over my finger like it belonged there. My mind ran in circles. Was it a mistake? A test? Or something she had planned for weeks? The next few days were torture. I kept replaying the dinner in my head, dissecting every glance, every pause, every hint of something unspoken. At work, my thoughts kept drifting. At night, I stared at the ceiling, wondering if I was imagining a connection that didn't exist. But the truth was, I wasn't. There was something there. Something dangerous. Something thrilling. Then, she started appearing in unexpected ways. At the coffee shop, at the park, even passing by my apartment building. Each time, the same calm, knowing look. And each time, my heart raced. I didn't know if I should run or lean in. And maybe she knew that. I couldn't tell. One evening, I finally confronted her, my voice barely steady. Clara, what was that night? The ring, what? She looked at me with that quiet intensity she always had. And then she smiled, just slightly, like I'd asked a question with no simple answer. Didn't it feel right? She asked. That was it. No explanation. No apology. Just a question that made everything more confusing. I realized then that this wasn't about casual flirting or passing infatuation. It was about something deeper. Something neither of us wanted to name aloud yet. And the truth was, I was falling into it faster than I could stop myself. But I knew, somewhere in the back of my mind, that falling this fast could lead to disaster. And just when I thought I could handle the tension, she dropped another bomb. One small, casual comment that made my blood run cold. Something about the past, something about her marriage, something that hinted that this whole thing wasn't just complicated. It was messy, dangerous. I tried to push it aside, tried to tell myself I could navigate this, but every moment with her pulled me deeper into uncharted territory. I wanted clarity, but clarity never came. Only her presence, only that ring on my finger, only the unspoken question hanging in the air. What happens if we cross the line? And then, one night, she called me out of the blue. Her voice was soft, calm, almost intimate. But there was something behind it, a warning, a secret, something I couldn't quite grasp. And when she said the words, my stomach dropped, my mind raced, and I knew nothing would ever be the same again. Her voice on the phone still echoes in my mind. Calm, quiet, but with an edge I couldn't ignore. Meet me tonight, she said. I need to show you something. And just like that, every thought I had for the past week spiraled into overdrive. What could she possibly want to show me? And why now? After all the confusion, all the tension, all the unspoken words between us. That night, I arrived at the restaurant we'd been frequenting for months. The streets were quiet, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement, making everything feel unreal, like a scene from a movie I didn't know I was in. Clara was already there, seated at our usual corner table, her hand resting on the polished wood, her eyes meeting mine before I even sat down. But there was something different in her expression, something darker, something urgent. She didn't speak immediately. She just slid something across the table to me. A small envelope, unmarked, sealed tight. My fingers trembled as I picked it up, my mind racing with possibilities. Bills? Letters? Photos? I glanced at her, trying to read her face, but she was unreadable. That calm, knowing look, but now, tinged with a hint of warning. Finally, she broke the silence. Open it, she said softly. The way she said it made me feel both terrified and exhilarated. I hesitated, my heart hammering. Then, slowly, carefully, I tore the seal and pulled out the contents. My eyes widened, my pulse spiked. Inside were photographs, images of her life I never should have seen. Moments of her past marriage, personal details I wasn't supposed to know, things that made me question everything I thought I understood about her. And then there was a note, written in her precise handwriting. If you think this is just a game, you don't know the half of it. I looked up at her. Her calm eyes were piercing, almost challenging. Clara, what is this? Why are you showing me this? I asked, my voice tight, shaking with a mix of fear and curiosity. She leaned back slightly, fingers brushing her lips, and smiled faintly. Because you need to understand. Before it's too late. The air between us was electric. I could feel the pull, dangerous, intoxicating, impossible to resist. Every instinct screamed at me to step back, to protect myself. But another part of me, the part that had been captivated by her since the first coffee, wanted to lean in, to dive headfirst into the chaos. And then, just as I thought I might finally get an explanation, her phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it, eyes narrowing. She said one word that made my stomach twist in knots. One word that meant everything and nothing at the same time. They're coming. My mind went blank. Who? What? And why now? And in that moment, I realized I was no longer just a bystander in her story. I was trapped in it, pulled into a world I didn't understand, a world where every choice mattered, where one wrong step could ruin everything. And I had no idea if I was ready for what was about to happen next. They're coming, she had said. My mind raced. Who? What did she mean? And then, without warning, she leaned closer, her voice a whisper that felt like it could shatter me. I'm not just divorced. I'm being watched. And it's not safe for either of us. My stomach dropped. My head spun. Being watched? By who? I wanted to ask, but the words caught in my throat. She didn't need to explain. The fear in her eyes said it all. And then she did something I didn't see coming. She grabbed my hand with her ring still on it, and pressed it against her chest. This isn't about us, she said. It's about them. They know everything. They know we're close. And if I can't trust you, neither of us will make it out untouched. A chill ran through me. Her calm, confident facade vanished, replaced by something raw, urgent, almost desperate. I wanted answers. I wanted to step back, but I couldn't. I was already in too deep. And then the restaurant door opened. A shadow fell across the floor, long and deliberate. Clara's hand tightened around mine. They're here. The shadow at the restaurant door froze us both. My heart pounded, every instinct screaming at me to run. But Clara didn't move. She held my hand tighter, her eyes locked on the figure stepping through the dim light. It was him. A man in a dark suit, face hidden in shadow, moving with a deliberate, cold precision. I felt a rush of fear I couldn't describe. And yet, there was something in Clara's expression, a mix of recognition and dread, that made my chest tighten even more. Stay calm, she whispered, her voice trembling just enough for me to feel it. Just trust me. The man stopped a few feet away, glancing between us. He said nothing, but the tension in the air was deafening. Then, as if on cue, Clara's free hand reached into her bag and pulled out a small device. A flash of light, a subtle click, and the man froze mid-step, eyes widening, as though caught in some invisible trap. I blinked. What just happened? She turned to me, her face pale but resolute. I told you it wasn't safe. I've been protecting myself, and you, from them for years. I didn't know if you could handle this, but now you see. My mind reeled. Everything I thought I knew about her, about us, about that dinner, about the ring, it all shifted in an instant. She had been living a hidden life, one filled with danger, secrets, and threats I never imagined. And yet, in that moment, she wasn't just Clara, the enigmatic woman I adored. She was Clara, my protector, my anchor, my reckoning. I tried to process it, but before I could, the man moved again. Faster, smarter. And then I realized, the device hadn't stopped him completely. Clara's eyes widened. They're stronger than I thought. We have to go now. We bolted from the restaurant, weaving through back streets, the city lights blurring around us. My mind was spinning, heart racing, adrenaline surging. I had gone from ordinary life to running through danger beside the woman I'd loved, the woman whose ring now burned against my skin. And just when I thought we had a moment, a sliver of safety, she looked at me with those piercing eyes and whispered something I'll never forget. They're not after me. They're after us. We finally stopped running when we reached the quiet edge of the city, a hidden alley where the chaos seemed to pause for just a moment. My chest heaved, my legs shook, and the ring on my finger felt heavier than ever, like it carried the weight of everything we had just survived. Clara sank against the wall, letting out a breath I could feel in my bones. She looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time that night. Not the secretive, guarded Clara, but the woman who had trusted me enough to drag me into her world. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never wanted you to see this side of me, but I couldn't hide it anymore." I reached for her hand, the one that wasn't gripping the ring. "Clara, I don't care about the danger. I don't care about the past. I just care about you. About us." Her eyes glistened with something I hadn't expected: relief, gratitude, maybe even a little hope. She smiled, faintly but sincerely, and for the first time that night, the tension between us eased, if only slightly. "It's not going to be easy," she said. "They're still out there. But maybe we can face it together." I nodded, gripping her hand tighter. Somehow, the ring didn't feel like a burden anymore. It felt like a bridge, a connection between her past and our present, a symbol of trust and a promise I was willing to embrace. In the following days, we lay low. We talked, really talked, for the first time. About her past, her fears, the people who had been watching her. About my life, my insecurities, the reasons I had fallen so hard for her despite the danger. Every conversation, every laugh, every quiet moment shared in hiding deepened something I hadn't realized I was capable of feeling, a bond that was as fragile as it was unbreakable. And yet, even in safety, a part of me remained alert. We had faced the immediate threat, but the world outside still hummed with uncertainty. Still, there was a strange kind of peace in that uncertainty, because now, whatever came, we were facing it together. One evening, sitting side by side on a small balcony overlooking the city, Clara slipped the ring off my finger. I braced myself, expecting a reversal, a withdrawal. But instead, she held it out, letting me slide it back on. "For now," she said softly. "This is ours, our choice, our bond. Not theirs, not the past." I looked at her, feeling the warmth spread through me. A simple gesture, a simple promise. And somehow, it said more than words ever could. We didn't know what the future held. Danger, uncertainty, and secrets were still part of our lives. But for the first time, I realized something profound. Some connections aren't just about safety or convenience. They're about courage, trust, and choosing to face the unknown with someone who matters. And in that moment, holding her hand, feeling the weight of the ring, I knew I was ready.